students. In this session, I'm going to explain you about the tertiary and quaternary structure of the proteins. So first, let us know about the tertiary structure. What is tertiary structure? The overall folding of a polypeptide chain, including the side chains of the amino acids, is nothing but its tertiary structure. Or else we can define it in another manner. The three-dimensional arrangement of all the atoms that are present in a protein gives its tertiary structure. Okay. In the tertiary structure is actually formed by the higher level of organizations of the secondary structures like alpha helices and beta pleated sheets. This tertiary structure not only explains the higher order of the higher foldings of the secondary structure, but it also explains or it also gives us an idea about the geometrical relationships and positional relationships between the different amino acids that are located far apart, far away from one another in the primary structure. For example, the 10th amino acid might be in interaction with the 200th amino acid in a protein molecule. So like this, the amino acids which are located far away in the primary structure will be in close interaction in the tertiary structure, will be in close interaction in the tertiary structure. So, if we consider the structure of tertiary structure of a protein, it is more compact. I mean, if we consider the secondary structures, they are more extensive than the tertiary structure. It indicates that it has folded very compactly to form some globular protein-like molecules. So thus we can say that these proteins, the secondary structures have folded very tightly, very compactly to produce the tertiary structure. So during the formation of the tertiary structure, because the hydrophobic amino acids have a tendency to avoid water molecules, all the hydrophobic amino acids will be buried in the core of the globular protein or in the core of the tertiary structure. But the hydrophilic amino acids, as they always have a tendency to interact with the water molecule, all the hydrophilic amino acids lie on the surface of the proteins. So this tertiary structure is going to be stabilized by again various types of weak interactions. Even though individually each type of this interaction is very weak, collectively they are going to form more stronger interaction, or collectively they will become collectively they are more strong. So therefore all these weak interactions play a very important role in the maintenance of the tertiary structure, in the stability of the tertiary structure. These weak interactions are hydrogen bonds. So the hydrogen bonds are in the tertiary structure also. Some hydrogen bonds are going to be formed between the side chains of the amino acids which are having NH and which are having CO groups. Okay, not exactly between the NH and CO groups. Somehow the hydrogen bonds here also in the tertiary structure also some hydrogen bonds are going to be formed. Similarly, within the core, inside the core of this proteins in the tertiary structure, all the hydrophobic amino acids remain adjacent to one another. Because they remain adjacent to one another, some hydrophobic interaction is developed between the hydrophobic amino acids like some aromatic amino acids and valine, leucine, isoleucine. Okay, such if though in some hydrophobic interaction is developed between such hydrophobic amino acids, and they are going to actually stabilize the core of the tertiary structure. Apart from this, electrostatic interaction is also there. In the electrostatic interaction, the two oppositely charged um, side chains of the proteins. For example, the aspartate, for the side chain of the aspartate, if it is in the near vicinity of the some other basic amino acid, due to the electrostatic interaction, then there will be a formation of the electrostatic interaction. I mean, if the positively and negatively charged amino acids come to a distance which are capable of forming electrostatic interaction, then the electrostatic interactions are formed between those amino acids, and therefore they also give some additional stability. Students, about hydrogen bonds, here whatever the in upon the surface. So I'm coming to hydrogen bonds again. Upon the surface, we have so many hydrophilic amino acids, and these hydrophilic amino acids, like the OH group of the serine or carboxyl group of aspartate, etc. These groups are going to form hydrogen bonds with the surrounding water molecules. Okay, this also gives some additional stability. Now I'm going to explain you about the van der Waals interactions. Now I'm going to explain you about the van der Waals interactions. So the van der Waals interactions, or we can say them as London forces, they are very short range interactions. They occur between the tightly packed molecules. Or else we can say that these van der Waals interactions are actually the weak interactions. They develop when the atoms are packed very close to one another. So thus we can say that in the tertiary structure, most of the side chain of the amino acids and all the atoms, they are very compactly arranged, especially in the core. Thus van der Waals interaction play very important role, and due to these interactions, the core is further stabilized, or the overall tertiary structure is further stabilized. So especially this van der Waals interaction is more predominant in the core of the tertiary structure. So apart from this, the intra-chain disulfide bonds, I mean whenever if the cysteine molecules are there, if the cysteine molecules which are located at the far away from one another in the primary structure are going to form disulfide linkage in the tertiary structure. So this disulfide linkage is, even though it's a not weak interaction, it's a covalent interaction. This disulfide linkage is also going to stabilize the tertiary structure of the proteins. Students, that's all about the tertiary structure of the protein. See, this is the image of the insulin. Okay, these are the two chains. Insulin is having the alpha and beta chains linked through disulfide bonds, and we can see these are maroon colored structures, or some oil red colored structures are alpha helices, and this yellow colored arrow marks are nothing but the beta pleated sheets, and all these are further folded upon they are further folded, or they form for some further higher level of structures to form some three-dimensional structure or tertiary structure. So that's all about the tertiary structure of the protein. So now let us know about the quaternary structure. So the quaternary structure means the three-dimensional arrangement of the two or more polypeptide chains with one another is nothing. The three-dimensional interaction or three-dimensional arrangement of two or more polypeptide chains is nothing but the quaternary structure. Is nothing but the quaternary structure. In the quaternary structure also, the same weak interactions which are going to stabilize the tertiary structure, the same weak interactions play an important role in the formation of the quaternary structure, in the maintenance and stabilization of the quaternary structure. Again, these interactions are hydrogen bonds. So the hydrogen bonds are formed between the peptide molecules, and also between the water which is present around the proteins. Okay, similarly, the hydrophobic interactions, they stabilize these structures, electrostatic interactions, van der Waals interactions, all these weak interactions, they are going to stabilize the quaternary structure. Along with this, some some proteins, they have interchain disulfide bonds. So in the quaternary structure also, the different subunits or different polypeptide chains might be might form disulfide bond. So that's all these interactions This disulfide bond is again, it's a covalent bond. All these interactions are going to form or stabilize the quaternary structure. So this is the image of the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a polypeptide made up of 4 subunits. So we can see 4 different colors. One is some purple, blue color, green and red color ribbon like structure. So these the 4 colors indicate the 4 different polypeptide chains. So in the quaternary structure, as I have already told you, they are made up of more than 2 subunits. So therefore these quaternary structures are also called as oligomeric proteins. Oligomeric proteins, or we can call them as multimeric proteins. Oligomeric proteins, or we can call them as multimeric proteins. So here the each individual polypeptide chains, we can call them as subunits. Okay, therefore if we consider hemoglobin, so okay, if any tertiary, if any quaternary structure, or if any protein, if it is made up of the 2 subunits, if any protein, if it is made up of 2 subunits, we call that protein as a dimer. If it is made up of 3 subunits, we call that protein as a trimer. Okay, these oligomeric proteins are named based on the number of subunits which contain, in number of subunits which are present in them. If that oligomeric protein is made up of 2 subunits, then it's called a dimer. If it is made up of 3 subunits, then it's called as a trimer. If it is made up of 4 subunits, then it is called as a tetramer. So like this, we say them as whether it's a dimer, trimer, tetramer, pentamer, like this. Okay, and these subunits may be identical or non-identical. So the subunits may be identical or not non-identical. If the subunits are identical, or they may be non-identical. So if the subunits are identical, we say them as we add the term homo. Okay, if the subunits are not identical, if the subunits are different, we add a prefix hetero. So for example, just imagine a protein. Just imagine a protein. Just imagine some quaternary structure or some protein. If it is made up of the 2 identical subunits, then because these subunits are identical, we are going to add the prefix homo. So thus we can say it as a homodimer. If both the subunits are different, okay, if both the subunits are different, see, if one subunit is one thing, and if both the subunits are different, then we need to add the term hetero. Okay, similarly, it is applicable to other higher structures. I mean other oligomeric proteins. For example, if all the subunits are if a protein is made up of 3 subunits and all the 3 subunits are identical, we can say it as a homotrimer. If all the subunits are different, we can say it as a heterotrimer. Similarly, for the heterotetramer, homotetramer, like this we can say. So these are all the some of this is about the quaternary structure of the proteins. The best example for the proteins that are present in the quaternary form or quaternary structure are hemoglobin molecule. Hemoglobin molecule, RNA polymerase, DNA polymerase 3, they are all some of the examples. These are some of the examples of the proteins that are present in the quaternary structure or quaternary form. So similarly, the example for the proteins that are present in the tertiary structure are many proteins are there. To say few, we can say an example is RNAs. ribonuclease, albumin, our blood protein, albumin, and myoglobin. Okay, these are some of the examples. These are some of the examples of the proteins which are present in the tertiary structures. I mean, of course, almost all the proteins are except some of the except fibrous proteins. All the proteins are present in the tertiary structure. To say few examples are RNAs, albumin, and myoglobin. Okay, these are some of the examples. So, students, that's all about the tertiary structure of the proteins. That's all about the tertiary structure and quaternary structure of the proteins.